Mike Norvell said to his Florida State Seminoles after the Orange Bowl, "You deserve better than that, so I apologize to you." I don't know if you've seen the post game comments from Norvell to his team. It was really heartfelt. I mean, that was a tough loss. It wasn't just a total beating, which I mean, obviously it was that, but it was hard, man. I mean, it's hard to watch those. That was such a strange game for the Noles. On a lot of levels, they had a lot of crowd support at that game. I would think it was at least 65% Florida State people in Miami. But the best moment of that game for Florida State was when Chief Osceola ran out on Renegade and threw that spear into the ground. That was really cool. After that, it was all downhill. It was bad. And he was essentially saying, he wasn't saying that to his seniors, he was saying that to everybody in the team. But um, I don't do deserve. I try to stay far away from deserve. And I understand he was talking in an emotional moment to his team after the game. But deserve, I mean, you either go do it or you don't. And they didn't, and it's a lot of that wasn't on Florida State. Part of that was that they ran into a buzzsaw that should have been in the playoff to begin with, and took no mercy at all. Had every single player there that could play, and did it. I mean, they just throttled Florida State in a way that I don't know if that's Florida State's worst loss ever. I hadn't looked that up or anything like that. I think we would have heard that by now, but it's a pretty bad. It's the most lopsided bowl game in bowl game history. So two years in a row, we have Georgia breaking records on people's heads. Um, but I have compassion for what he said to his team. Um, I do. Those kids work. They've done a lot of work. Everybody who was dressed in that burgundy and gold, they worked that fall. They just weren't the players that normally were playing. I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many guys really were going to make up a 60-point difference. Um, I'll tell you, none of them. They weren't beating Georgia. So I don't care if they were at full strength or not. And the other problem with deserve is if your guys would choose to play in that game, we wouldn't have all this, what if that. I mean, just go play the best possible game you can play with all the players you've got. But of course, the problem with that is guys want to go on and start their careers in the NFL. I mean, several of those guys were transfer portal guys. And so they don't really do they have the same affinity for Florida State as other guys do? I don't know. Um, but Bullard, Lassiter, Cedric, there were 11 players at Georgia who have eligibility remaining and have declared for the NFL draft. 9 of them played in this game. 9 of them. That's a lot. Ladd McConkey, Cedric, Lassiter, Bullard. I mean, it's just a lot of their really good players played in this game. So I thought it was, it's always sad to see these kind of moments, but I don't think that. I wonder too with Florida State, was that like their moment where they thought they could win the national championship, and it's this is my I'm asking. I don't know that they feel this way, but did they feel like, hey, this is the best shot we've had in 10 years, and this might be the best shot we've got for the next 10 years? Because I'm not sure I believe that. I mean, I think that with the way that the playoff is structured now, Florida State will just walk into a quarterfinal matchup. I mean, there's no one in the ACC of consequence. Who? NC State or Clemson? Like, are we really being serious right now? So they should still get there if they can get a quarterback, which they do with DJ Uiagalelei. Um, they're they're not winning the national championship with that guy as their signal caller, I don't think, but they're certainly going to be nestled into the quarterfinal if you win the ACC championship. I mean, there's very few scenarios where they're not sitting there at the whatever bowl. I mean, it won't be the Orange Bowl. The Orange Bowl is going to be a semifinal next year. So it's all right there for Florida State because the schedule is not it's just not that hard. I don't know when you're playing in that league. There's not much in your way. So Georgia didn't go the same route as Florida State coming into this thing. Like, for instance, Notre Dame is probably the only non Yeah, I mean they got the Gators and Notre Dame. That's their non-conference, which is a pretty significant non-conference, by the way. But they open it with Tech in Ireland. They play Memphis a game. Surely they'll win that game. And then but Memphis is not horrible. That's the only reason I say that. But they'll beat Memphis. They got Notre Dame, Florida, who's not good. Boston College, Duke, Cal. They host Clemson. They should win that game. North Carolina, at Miami, and then at SMU. I mean, like, I just don't like. It's just not the same at all. It's not the same at all. So when you had your chance to prove your point, you couldn't. That's where I'm at with the Florida State thing. Like, I think that it is tremendously sad that the Noles didn't get their shot because of injury and because of opt-outs. But the injury you cannot control. I mean, Brock Bowers was not going to play in the Orange Bowl because of the injury. But I think if he were completely healthy, he'd have played. But how many of those Florida State guys that opted out are going to be first-round draft picks? If you're not a first-round draft pick, I think the thinking of all of this is probably adjusted a little bit. You're seeing, first-round guys play in bowl games now. Bryce Young last year. The kid from Georgia who went to Alabama, whose name amazingly has escaped me. Bowers would have played in this game had he been healthy. I mean, Bullard and Lassiter are probably first round, but we'll see. If you're not a first round guy, can one game make you a first round guy? If you're borderline, yeah. And if you're not borderline first round, why are you not playing? Because you can help yourself, unless you're hurt. Now, if you're hurt, that's different. But there are a lot of Florida State guys. So it's one of two things. It's either that Florida State didn't have their full arsenal. Why didn't they have their full arsenal? Because those guys chose not to play, right? And then, of course, you had the quarterback hurt. But it was sad. But there were, there's two different ways to do this. Either you have the depth that you need, which Florida State did not, quite clearly, and Georgia did, or, you play all your guys. And it's too bad, but, the good news for the Noles is they have a situation where, they cannot be great and get to the playoff. They cannot be great. But I wonder if they're thinking, hey, man, we hadn't been here for 10 years. We haven't really mattered for 10 years, say 9 years. And are we going to be, yeah, they're going to be pretty good. I don't know for how long, but they're going to be pretty good. Here's the River's Edge bench from our buddies at EcoPoly. The link is right down below. Make sure you're taking advantage of everything we've got for you. There's a discount code down there, too, to get 15% off from our buddies at Dawg Post. This is what the River's Edge bench looks like. This is made of completely recycled plastics. This is not some bench that's going to be uncomfortable. Please notice the way that the bench is constructed, not just the colors. Now, for the Florida State folks who are sort of bothered by watching this video, you can get something in Nole colors. You can doll this up for your house and make it look like, oh man, it's a Florida State deal. Yeah, it can be. We are going to stick with the Georgia stuff because that's our primary audience. I'm just going to tell you, personally, I prefer the red as the black at the top can be pretty overwhelming, but it's a wonderful product. 20-year warranty, made in the heart of Georgia, down in Eastman, which is Dodge County. Make sure you're checking that link out down below. They've been a great supporter. They're going to be a great supporter in the future too for us. But I think for Florida State, it is disappointing. And whenever you lose the terminal game, it's disappointing. It turned out, it shouldn't have been a terminal game, but it turned out that Georgia's loss to Alabama was their terminal game. For Alabama, we've seen the reaction this week for their loss to Michigan. Well, they weren't the better team and they lost. Kind of relax, would you? Well, you can't. There's no chill with those folks. There's no chill with those folks. I feel bad for Paul Feinbaum this week. I mean, that's been a lot to take in. But it was disappointing for Florida State. You deserve better than this. I mean, they deserve better than to be sort of ridiculed, if there's any of that going on. But they didn't deserve a win. They didn't deserve, part of what you deserve is what you go earn. And, nobody, they may have been a massive underdog. That line turned out to be a 24-point line. I thought it was 21. It moved all the way up to 24 the last I saw it. That's a huge line. Like, you just don't see that. So I do think Mike Norvell did a great job of adjusting to what he should have said during the post game. It was just a bad beating. That's all there is to it.